Hey, you there, stop. Darius slowed to a walk, earbuds still in, pretending not to hear. He'd learned this dance in his previous neighborhoods. Sometimes ignoring worked. Sometimes. I said stop. The voice grew closer, more aggressive. Darius pulled out his earbuds and turned. A red-faced man in his 50s marched toward him, wearing a security uniform that looked like it came from a costume shop. Behind him trailed a nervous-looking woman with a phone already recording. "Can I help you?" Darius asked, his FBI training kicking in, calm voice, hands visible, de-escalation mode. "Robert Caldwell, head of Willowbrook Security." The man puffed out his chest, flashing a badge that caught the morning light. "I need to see some identification. We've had reports of suspicious activity." Darius almost smiled. Suspicious activity, also known as jogging while black, in neighborhoods like this. "I live here. 1247, Cedar Lane." "That's impossible." Caldwell's face grew redder. "I know everyone in this neighborhood, and you don't belong here." "Robert, maybe we should," the woman started. "Quiet, Patricia," Caldwell snapped. "Ma'am, keep recording. We're going to need evidence for the police report." "Hi, my beautiful family. Let me begin with a prayer straight from the heart. Dear God, please bless every soul watching this video. Fill their lives with peace, joy, and endless love. Amen. Welcome back, my family. You are not just viewers. You are my light during the dark days, and my reason to keep going. To all new family members, welcome to the family. Please subscribe to the channel and introduce yourself in the comments. I truly want to know more about you. My beloved family, every story I bring is not just words. It is my sweat, my sleepless nights, and my sacrifice. When you leave early, it cuts deep as if my hard work is unseen and my voice unheard. Please stay till the end. I love you. Now let's begin the story. Darius noticed something that made his blood run cold. The badge wasn't just fake. It was a federal replica. Someone had gone through serious trouble to create a convincing FBI shield. This wasn't just neighborhood racism. This was impersonating a federal officer. "Sir, where did you get that badge?" Darius asked, his voice taking on a different tone, the one he used in interrogation rooms. "That's none of your business, criminal. You're under citizen's arrest for trespassing, and I'm detaining you until real police arrive." Caldwell reached for handcuffs, actual handcuffs, hanging from his belt. Patricia gasped behind him. "Robert, this is going too far." "I said be quiet. This is exactly the kind of criminal element that's been plaguing our neighborhood." Darius felt the familiar surge of controlled anger, the same feeling he'd battled since childhood. But his training ran deeper than his emotions. He studied Caldwell's setup, the fake uniform, the counterfeit badge, the handcuffs. This man had been planning this for a while. "What criminal element?" Darius asked quietly. "Break-ins, thefts, drug dealing, all started when your people moved into our neighborhood." The words hung in the air like poison. Patricia lowered her phone slightly, shame flickering across her face. "My people." Darius stepped closer, and Caldwell's bravado wavered slightly. "You know what I mean. This used to be a safe neighborhood. Now look at it." Darius looked around at the immaculate lawns, the luxury cars in driveways, the children's bikes scattered on pristine sidewalks. "Looks pretty safe to me. That's because patriots like me are willing to take action when the so-called authorities won't." Caldwell lunged forward with the handcuffs, but Darius's reflexes were lightning fast. In one fluid motion, he sidestepped, grabbed Caldwell's wrist, and had him face down on the sidewalk before the man could blink. "What the? How did you?" Caldwell sputtered against the concrete. Patricia screamed and nearly dropped her phone. "Oh my God! Robert!" Darius kept Caldwell pinned with minimal effort. "Sir, you just attempted to unlawfully detain a federal officer. That's a felony." "Federal officer?" Patricia whispered. Darius reached into his jogging shorts and pulled out his wallet, flipping it open to reveal his real FBI credentials. Special Agent Darius Mitchell, FBI. And that badge you're wearing? That's another felony. Impersonating a federal officer. Caldwell's face went from red to chalk white. That's impossible. You're lying. The badge, Mr. Caldwell. Where did you get it? Silence. Darius applied gentle pressure to Caldwell's wrist. Where? I bought it online. It was just supposed to scare people, make them think twice about being black in your neighborhood? More silence. Patricia had stopped recording and was backing away slowly. Ma'am, Darius called to her without taking his eyes off Caldwell. Don't leave. I'm going to need your statement. I didn't know, she whispered. I swear I didn't know he had fake badges. I thought he was Neighborhood Watch. Darius's phone buzzed. A text message. Still holding Caldwell down with one hand, he glanced at the screen and felt his world shift. The message was from his partner, Agent Lisa Torres. Emergency. Need you at field office ASAP. We've got a domestic terrorism cell operating in suburban HOAs. Fake law enforcement credentials involved. Darius stared at the message, then at Caldwell beneath him, then at the fake badge glinting in the morning sun. This wasn't just a racist neighbor with delusions of authority. This was potentially part of something much bigger. Mr. Caldwell, Darius said slowly, I think you and I need to have a much longer conversation. 20 minutes later, Darius sat across from Robert Caldwell in the man's pristine living room, the fake badge sealed in an evidence bag on the coffee table between them. Patricia Hendricks, Caldwell's neighbor and reluctant accomplice, perched nervously on the edge of an armchair, her phone now serving as an audio recorder at Darius's request. Let me be very clear about your situation, Mr. Caldwell, Darius said, his voice carrying the weight of federal authority. Impersonating a federal officer carries a maximum sentence of 3 years in federal prison. Attempted unlawful detention adds another year. And if this badge is connected to any organized group. It's not, Caldwell interrupted, sweat beading on his forehead. I swear, it was just me trying to clean up the neighborhood. Darius leaned forward. Clean up how exactly? The property values. The character of the community. Caldwell's eyes darted everywhere except to Darius's face. Ever since the Johnsons moved in, and then the Patels, and now you, things have been changing. Changing how? More crime, more. Caldwell struggled with the words. More black and brown families, Darius finished. Is that what you mean? Patricia shifted uncomfortably. Robert, I told you this was wrong. I told you. You didn't tell me anything. Caldwell snapped. You were just as concerned as everyone else when your car got broken into. My car wasn't broken into, Robert. I left it unlocked, and someone took my gym bag. That's not. It's the principle. Caldwell's mask was slipping now. This used to be a safe place where people looked out for each other. Now we have strangers walking around like they own the place. Darius felt his phone vibrate again. Another text from Torres. 3 more fake badges recovered from HOA presidents in Virginia. Same manufacturer. This is big. Darius looked up from his phone, his expression hardening. Mr. Caldwell, where exactly did you buy this badge? I told you online. Which website? Be specific. Caldwell's Adam's apple bobbed. I don't remember. Your browser history will tell me. Your credit card statements will tell me. Your email receipts will tell me. Darius stood up, towering over the man. Or you can tell me now and maybe, I can convince the federal prosecutor you cooperated. The room fell silent except for the tick of an expensive grandfather clock. Patricia was recording every word, her face pale with the realization of what she'd stumbled into. There's a group, Caldwell finally whispered. Online. They call themselves the Heritage Preservation Network. Patricia gasped. Robert, no. They help concerned citizens protect their communities. They provide resources, training, equipment. Equipment like fake federal badges? Caldwell nodded miserably. Darius felt pieces clicking into place. The domestic terrorism investigation Torres had mentioned was suddenly sitting in a suburban living room, wearing a knockoff security uniform and sweating through his shirt. How many people in this neighborhood are part of this network? I can't, if they find out I talked. Mr. Caldwell, they're about to have much bigger problems than you talking. How many? 6. Maybe 7 families. Patricia's phone slipped from her trembling hands. Oh God! Oh God! What have you people done? Just then, Darius's phone rang. Torres again. He answered on speaker. Mitchell here. Darius, where are you? We've got a situation developing. 3 armed individuals, with fake federal credentials, just attempted to detain a black family in Arlington. Shots fired. We need all hands. I'm in the middle of it, Lisa. I've got one of them here. What do you mean you've got one of them? Long story. But Torres, they're organized. Heritage Preservation Network. How many agencies are tracking this? Every alphabet agency in D.C. as of an hour ago. This thing goes deep, Darius. We're talking coordinated harassment campaigns across 6 states, fake law enforcement credentials, and now weapons charges. Caldwell's face had gone ashen. Patricia was hyperventilating. Jesus Christ, Robert, she whispered. What did you get us into? I need backup at my location, Darius said into the phone. And a warrant for electronic devices. This is about to get complicated. Already en route. ETA 15 minutes. As Darius hung up, he noticed Caldwell reaching slowly toward a drawer in the end table. Freeze. Darius's hand moved instinctively toward his concealed weapon. Hands where I can see them. I need my medication. Heart condition. Patricia, open that drawer. Carefully. Patricia crept forward and pulled the drawer open, then stumbled backward. Robert, why do you have a gun? Inside the drawer, next to a bottle of heart medication, lay a .38 revolver and what looked like a tactical radio. Darius's training took over completely now. Everyone stay exactly where you are. Mr. Caldwell, you're under arrest for federal weapons violations in addition to everything else. It's for protection, Caldwell protested. You don't understand what's happening in this neighborhood. What's happening is that families are trying to live their lives while people like you play vigilante with fake badges and real guns. The tactical radio crackled to life. Unit 7 to base. Package delivered to target location. Awaiting further instructions. Darius grabbed the radio. This is FBI Agent Mitchell. Identify yourself immediately. Static. Then. Oh shit. Abort. Abort. All units abort. Darius looked at Patricia, who was crying now, and then at Caldwell, who seemed to have aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. Mr. Caldwell, I want you to think very carefully about your next words. Lives are at stake now. Not just yours, but other families in this community who just want to live in peace. You can help me stop this before someone gets killed, or you can go down with a domestic terrorism organization. What's it going to be? Outside, sirens were approaching. Through the window, Darius could see neighbors starting to emerge from their houses, phones in hand, recording everything. The America he'd sworn to protect was fracturing right here in suburbia. One fake badge, and one frightened bigot at a time. But maybe, just maybe, it could also be healed the same way. One conversation, one choice, one moment of courage at a time. Caldwell looked at Patricia, then at the evidence bag containing his fake badge, then at Darius. There's something else, he whispered. Something I haven't told you about tonight. Tonight? They're planning something for tonight. All the units. A coordinated operation. Darius felt ice in his veins. What kind of operation? The FBI tactical van pulled up just as Caldwell's resolve finally cracked completely. Through his living room window, Darius watched Agent Torres step out with a full forensics team, while neighbors gathered on sidewalks with the morbid curiosity of people watching their quiet world explode. The operation tonight, Caldwell continued, his voice barely above a whisper. It's called community standards. They've been planning it for months. Darius kept his eyes locked on Caldwell, while Patricia sobbed quietly in the corner. What kind of operation? Simultaneous interventions. 7 neighborhoods across 3 counties. All the families that they think don't belong. Interventions. Darius let the word hang in the air like poison. You mean harassment? Wellness checks. Documentation. Making sure everyone knows the community standards. Torres knocked on the front door, and Darius called for her to enter. She surveyed the scene, the evidence bag, the gun drawer, Patricia's tears, Caldwell's defeated posture, and immediately understood they'd stumbled into something bigger than a neighborhood dispute. How coordinated are we talking? Torres asked, pulling up a chair. Caldwell looked between the 2 agents. Radio networks, synchronized timing, shared intelligence on target families. Intelligence. Darius felt his anger rising again. You mean you've been surveilling your neighbors? Movement patterns, work schedules, when kids get home from school. Caldwell's voice trailed off as he seemed to realize how his words sounded. Patricia looked up through her tears. Robert, you told me you were just concerned about property values. You said you were trying to help. I was trying to help. Caldwell exploded, then immediately deflated. I was trying to save our neighborhood before it became like what? Torres pressed. Like everywhere else. Mixed up. Confused. Dangerous. Torres and Darius exchanged a look. They'd both seen this before. Fear masquerading as patriotism. Racism dressed up as community concern. Mr. Caldwell, Torres said, we recovered fake badges from 3 other HOA presidents this morning. Same manufacturer, same seller. One of them had enough ammunition stockpiled to outfit a small militia. Caldwell's face went white. Ammunition? You didn't know about the weapons caches? Darius asked. No. We were just supposed to have the badges for authority, the radios for coordination. Nobody said anything about guns except for personal protection. Torres pulled out her tablet and showed Caldwell a series of photos. This is what we found in Jerry Morrison's garage in Arlington. Recognize him? Caldwell nodded slowly. He's the regional coordinator. 20 assault rifles, 50,000 rounds of ammunition, tactical gear, and detailed floor plans of 12 houses in his neighborhood. Patricia screamed. Floor plans? Caldwell stood up shakily. That's not. We were just doing wellness checks. Wellness checks don't require knowing how many bedrooms someone has, or where their children sleep, Darius said coldly. The tactical radio crackled again. Base to all units. Federal involvement confirmed. Execute contingency plan. Repeat. Execute contingency plan. Torres grabbed the radio. This is FBI Agent Torres. All Heritage Network operatives. You are ordered to stand down immediately. Federal agents are monitoring all frequencies. Static then. Too late, feds. America first. The radio went dead. Torres's phone buzzed with an emergency alert. She read it quickly, her face growing grim. Darius, we've got active situations in 4 locations. Armed individuals with fake credentials attempting forced entries. Local PD is requesting federal assistance. Patricia, Darius turned to the terrified woman. I need you to call every neighbor you know who might be involved in this. Tell them to stand down before someone gets killed. I don't know who else is involved. Robert kept me in the dark about most of it. Caldwell suddenly stood up. I can stop this. How? The radio network. I have the master frequency. I can reach all the units directly. Torres handed him a different radio. Do it. Now. Caldwell took the radio with shaking hands. All Heritage units, this is Command 7. Stand down. I repeat, all units stand down immediately. A chorus of angry voices responded. Command 7, are you compromised? Robert, what the hell are you doing? We've got targets in sight, not backing down now. Sir, they've got him. Command 7 is compromised. Caldwell tried again. This is not a drill. Federal agents are monitoring. If you don't stand down, people are going to die. Then they should have thought about that before they invaded our neighborhoods. The radio fell silent. Torres was already coordinating with multiple agencies through her headset. We've got teams moving to all known locations. But Darius, this thing is bigger than we thought. The network spans 8 states. Suddenly, Patricia's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and went pale. It's my daughter. She lives in Fairfax. She answered on speaker. Mom. A young woman's voice, terrified. Mom, there are men outside with badges saying they need to check our house for violations. They have guns, Mom. David's trying to keep them out, but they're saying they have federal authority. Those aren't real federal agents. Patricia screamed into the phone. Lock your doors, call 911, don't let them in. Mom, they know about Emma's daycare schedule. They know when David leaves for work. How do they know that? Darius grabbed the phone. This is FBI Agent Mitchell. What's your address? Who is this? Mom, who is that? He's real FBI, honey. Tell him your address. The daughter rattled off an address in Fairfax. Torres was already dispatching units. Ma'am, I need you to stay on the line with me. Are your doors locked? Yes, but they're trying to jimmy the back door. Oh God, Emma's crying. She's so scared. Patricia collapsed into sobs. This is my fault. I recorded everything. I helped him plan. Patricia, you didn't know, Darius said firmly. Right now, we focus on stopping this. Through the phone, they could hear men shouting. Federal housing violation inspection. Open up or we're coming in. Ma'am, what's your husband's name? David Buckley. Darius felt his blood run cold. David Buckley. These weren't random targets. They were systematically targeting families based on race and ethnicity. Ma'am, I need you to get to the safest room in your house with your daughter. Do not open that door for anyone unless they show you a badge through the window, and you call this number to verify. He gave her the FBI field office number. Torres was in full tactical mode now, coordinating with SWAT teams across 3 counties. Caldwell suddenly grabbed Darius's arm. There's something else. Something I haven't told you. What? Tonight isn't just about harassment. Morrison said. He said the first phase was documentation. The second phase was removal. Removal? Torres looked up from her coordinating. What does that mean? Making it so uncomfortable, so unsafe, that they choose to leave on their own. Darius felt pieces clicking together in a terrifying pattern. And if they don't choose to leave? Caldwell's silence was answer enough. Through Patricia's phone, they heard the sound of breaking glass. The sound of breaking glass through Patricia's phone sent everyone into action. Darius was already moving toward the door when Torres grabbed his arm. Darius, wait. We go together or not at all. Through the phone, they could hear Patricia's daughter screaming. David! They're in the house! They're in the house! A man's voice shouted back. Get Emma upstairs. Now! Then came the sound every parent fears most. A child crying for her mommy. Patricia was hyperventilating now. We have to go there. We have to help them. Ma'am, federal units are already en route to your daughter's location, Torres said. But her voice was tight with the knowledge that en route might not be fast enough. Darius made a command decision. Lisa, I'm going to Fairfax. You coordinate from here. Like hell. We stay together. Caldwell suddenly stood up. Take me with you. Both agents stared at him. They know me. They trust my voice. If I show up and tell them to stand down, you think they're going to listen after you just tried to call off the whole operation? Darius asked. I have to try. This has gone too far. That little girl. Caldwell's voice cracked. I have grandchildren the same age. Through the phone, Patricia's daughter was whispering. Mom, they're searching the house. They're going through everything. One of them has Emma's school photo. How do they have my baby's school photo? Patricia let out a sound that was half sob, half scream. Torres made the call. All right, we all go. But Caldwell, you're cuffed and you don't breathe without my permission. As they rushed to Torres's SUV, Darius noticed the crowd of neighbors had grown. Some looked concerned, others excited, but a few looked guilty. How deep did this network run in his own neighborhood? Patricia, Darius said as they piled into the vehicle. Keep your daughter on the line. We need to know what's happening. Torres hit the sirens and floored it toward Fairfax, while coordinating with multiple tactical teams through her radio. Unit 7, what's your ETA on the Buckley residence? 8 minutes out. Patricia's daughter's voice came through the phone, strained and terrified. Mom, they're asking David all these questions about our lease, about his work, about where we go to church. They keep saying we don't belong here. Honey, just answer their questions and stay calm. Help is coming. One of them is taking pictures of everything. Our family photos, David's computer, Emma's toys. Why are they doing this? Darius gripped the wheel tighter as Torres navigated traffic. Because they're building a case for why you shouldn't be allowed to live there. Suddenly, Patricia's daughter screamed. They're putting David in handcuffs. They're saying he's under arrest for housing fraud. David didn't do anything wrong. Torres grabbed her radio. All units, we have an unlawful detention in progress at the Buckley residence. Suspects are armed and claiming federal authority. Copy that. Unit 7 is 3 minutes out. Through the phone. Please don't take my daddy. Please. The sound of a 4-year-old begging for her father's freedom shattered something inside Darius. This was exactly why he'd become an FBI agent. To protect families like the Buckleys from people like Caldwell and his network. But now, racing through suburban Virginia with his suspect in the back seat, he realized how naive he'd been. The badge, the training, the authority. None of it mattered if citizens could simply create their own version of law enforcement. Sir, came a voice through Torres's radio. We've got a problem. There are Heritage Network operatives at 7 different locations, all conducting simultaneous operations. We don't have enough units to cover everything. Torres looked at Darius. We're going to have to prioritize. No. Darius's voice was steel. We're going to stop all of it. Caldwell leaned forward from the back seat. I can help. The network has protocols. If I can reach the regional coordinator. Morrison? The one with the weapons cache. He's not a bad man. He's scared, just like the rest of us. If he understands that this has gotten out of control. Mr. Caldwell, Patricia said, still holding the phone to her daughter. These men are terrorizing a 4-year-old child. How is that protecting anything? Through the phone, they heard David Buckley's voice, calm despite the circumstances. Gentlemen, I'm a software engineer at a defense contractor. I have security clearance from the federal government. Whatever you think I've done, you're mistaken. Security clearance means nothing if you're not supposed to be here in the first place, came a gruff reply. Not supposed to be where? In my own home that I pay rent for. You know what we mean. The racial hatred in that voice, casual, matter of fact, as if David Buckley's very existence was a violation, hit everyone in the SUV like a physical blow. Patricia broke down completely. What have we done? What have we become? Caldwell's voice was hollow. We told ourselves we were protecting our families. We told ourselves we were patriots. And now? Darius asked. Now a little girl is watching strangers terrorize her father because of the color of his skin. Torres's radio crackled. Unit 7 on scene. We've got 4 suspects with fake federal credentials, 2 vehicles, and... Jesus Christ. What is it? They've got the family lined up outside their house like it's a perp walk. The 4-year-old is in her pajamas. This is fucked up, excuse my language. Take them down. Now. Copy. Moving in. Through Patricia's phone, they heard the sound of real federal agents announcing themselves. FBI. Drop your weapons. Get on the ground. Shouting. Confusion. Then Patricia's daughter. Mom? Mom, are you there? The real police are here. David's okay. Emma's okay. We're okay. Patricia collapsed in relief, but Torres was still coordinating multiple scenes. Unit 12, what's your status? We've got 3 suspects in custody, but sir, we found something else. They had detailed files on 23 families across this county. Photos, work schedules, financial information, even medical records. This is identity theft on top of everything else. Darius felt the scope of the conspiracy expanding in his mind. They weren't just planning harassment. They were building a database. A database for what? Torres asked. Caldwell answered quietly from the back seat. Phase 3. Both agents turned to look at him. What's Phase 3, Robert? Patricia demanded. I don't know. Morrison never told us what came after Phase 2. He just said that if families still refused to leave after the interventions. After the terrorism, you mean, Darius corrected. That there were other options. Final options. The SUV fell silent except for the sound of sirens and Patricia's daughter crying tears of relief through the phone. They were 5 minutes from the Buckley house, but Darius realized they weren't just racing to save one family anymore. They were racing to prevent a wave of domestic terrorism that could spread across the entire country. Lisa, he said quietly, how big do you think this really is? Torres was typing rapidly on her tablet, coordinating with the Bureau's Domestic Terrorism Division. Initial reports are coming in from 12 states. The Heritage Preservation Network has been recruiting for 8 months through social media and HOA meetings. How many people? Conservative estimate? 300 active members. Maybe more. Darius thought about his morning jog, about Caldwell's fake badge, about the sound of a 4-year-old crying for her father. 300 Robert Caldwells, armed with fake authority and real weapons, convinced they were saving America by terrorizing their neighbors. And then he thought about something else, something that made his blood run cold. Caldwell, what did Morrison say about federal interference? That it was expected. That they had contingency plans. What kind of contingency plans? Caldwell's silence stretched too long. Robert, Patricia screamed. What kind of contingency plans? If federal agents got involved, if the network was compromised, they were supposed to activate the sleeper cells. Torres nearly swerved off the road. Sleeper cells? Network members who weren't part of the active operations, who were supposed to look innocent until what? Until they were needed to protect the network from federal retaliation. Darius's phone began buzzing with urgent messages from FBI headquarters. The first one made his heart stop. Agent Mitchell, return to base immediately. Credible threat against federal agents involved in Heritage Network investigation. Torres pulled into the Buckley family's driveway, just as the FBI tactical team was loading the last Heritage Network operative into a van. David Buckley stood on his front lawn holding his daughter Emma, while his wife Sarah wrapped them both in a protective embrace. The little girl's face was streaked with tears, but she was safe. Darius barely had time to feel relief before his phone exploded with incoming calls. Mitchell, he answered while scanning the scene. Agent Mitchell, this is Director Hayes. Where are you? Fairfax County, sir. We just wrapped up. Listen carefully. We've intercepted communications indicating Heritage Network sleeper cells have been activated. They have the names and home addresses of every federal agent involved in today's operations. Darius felt the world tilt. How many agents? 47 agents across 6 field offices, including you and Torres. Torres was helping Patricia out of the SUV when she saw Darius's expression. What is it? He put the phone on speaker. Director, Agent Torres needs to hear this. Director Hayes continued. The sleeper cells were the insurance policy. Neighbors, co-workers, people with no apparent connection to the Heritage Network. They've been gathering intelligence on federal agents and their families for months. Jesus, Torres whispered. There's more. We've identified at least 12 sleeper operatives in the DC metro area alone. They have photos of agents' children, school schedules, home addresses. Patricia overheard and grabbed Caldwell's arm. You knew about this? No, Caldwell protested. I swear, Morrison never told us about sleeper cells. We thought we were just terrorizing innocent families, Darius finished coldly. Director Hayes's voice cut through their argument. Agent Mitchell, Agent Torres, you need to secure your families immediately. The sleeper cells received activation orders 20 minutes ago. Darius's blood ran cold as he remembered something. Sir, my sister Keisha lives in Baltimore. She's a teacher. If they've been watching agents' families, already dispatched a team to her school. What about other family members? Torres was already on her phone calling her husband. Miguel, listen to me very carefully. Take the kids and go to your mother's house right now. Don't ask questions, just go. David Buckley approached them cautiously, still holding Emma. Agent Mitchell? We wanted to thank you. Mr. Buckley, you and your family need to leave this house immediately. What? Why? I thought you caught them all. The network is bigger than we thought. You're still in danger. Sarah Buckley's face went pale. Where are we supposed to go? This is our home. Ma'am, I understand, but... Torres's phone rang. She answered, listened for 30 seconds, then hung up with a grim expression. Darius, we've got active situations at 3 agents' homes. Sleeper cells are conducting citizens' arrests of federal agents for treason against the American people. Patricia started hyperventilating again. Robert, what have you people done? Caldwell looked broken. This isn't what we signed up for. We were supposed to be protecting our communities. By terrorizing children? Darius snapped. Suddenly, Torres's tactical radio crackled with an emergency broadcast. All units be advised. Armed individuals claiming to be Heritage Network operatives have surrounded the Fairfax field office. They're demanding the release of all detained Heritage Network members. Director Hayes's voice came back through Darius's phone. Mitchell, Torres, do not return to the field office. Consider it compromised. Sir, what about our colleagues? SWAT teams are en route, but this is now a federal siege situation. David Buckley stepped closer. Agent Mitchell, if they're targeting federal agents, wouldn't we be safer staying here? They got what they wanted. They scared us. They made their point. Mr. Buckley, respectfully, you don't understand. This isn't about scaring you anymore. They're past that phase. What do you mean? Darius hesitated, then decided the truth was better than false comfort. They're trying to create a race war. Families like yours are just the opening move. Sarah Buckley clutched Emma tighter. A race war? In 2025? In Virginia? Torres's radio erupted again. Multiple shots fired at the field office. Suspect down. Agent down. We need medical immediately. The suburban street suddenly felt like a war zone. Neighbors were peering out windows, some recording with their phones, others retreating inside and locking doors. Caldwell suddenly stood up straighter. I can end this. How? Morrison trusts me. If I can get to him, convince him to call off the sleeper cells. Morrison is the one who activated them. Not Morrison. There's someone above him. Someone who's been giving the orders all along. Torres and Darius exchanged a look. Who? I don't know his real name. We called him the Architect. Morrison said he was a former federal agent who understood how the system really worked. Emma Buckley started crying again, and her father began singing softly to her. The lullaby was beautiful and heartbreaking, a father trying to comfort his daughter while strangers with guns hunted people who looked like him. Patricia watched the scene with tears streaming down her face. Robert, look at what we've done. Look at that beautiful little girl. How did we convince ourselves that family was a threat to anything? Caldwell's voice was barely a whisper. Because we were scared. And when people are scared, they'll believe anything that makes them feel safe. Safe from what? Darius demanded. From a software engineer and his family? From me jogging in my own neighborhood? Safe from from change, from feeling like strangers in our own country. So you decided to make other people feel like strangers in theirs? Darius's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Agent Mitchell. You have 24 hours to cease all Heritage Network investigations, or your sister's school will have an active shooter situation. This is America. Act accordingly. The world went silent except for Emma's sniffles and her father's lullaby. Torres read the message over his shoulder. They're threatening schools now. Director Hayes was still on the line. Mitchell, did you say something about a school threat? Darius forwarded the text. Sir, they just escalated to threatening children. Christ. This is now a domestic terrorism emergency. I'm activating the Joint Terrorism Task Force and deploying the National Guard to all affected areas. Patricia looked up from watching the Buckley family. The National Guard? Robert, what have you started? Caldwell was staring at his hands. I was trying to save my neighborhood. Now the military is getting involved. Mr. Caldwell, David Buckley said, still holding his daughter, I want you to look at my little girl and tell me what neighborhood you were saving her from. Caldwell looked at Emma Buckley, 4 years old, clutching a stuffed bunny, tear-stained cheeks, scared eyes, and finally seemed to understand the magnitude of what he'd been part of. I can't, he whispered. You can't what? I can't look at her and justify any of this. Torres's radio crackled again. All units, the Fairfax field office siege is over. Suspects in custody. But we've got reports of Heritage Network activity in Maryland, North Carolina, and Tennessee. This is going nationwide. Darius looked at the Buckley family, at Patricia's tears, at Caldwell's broken expression, and made a decision that would define the rest of his career. Director Hayes, I'm going after the architect. Mitchell, absolutely not. You're too close to this. Sir, with respect, they just threatened my sister's elementary school. I'm exactly close enough. Dear viewers, the Heritage Network has declared war on America itself, threatening children and besieging federal buildings. How far will they go? And can Darius stop the architect before the violence spirals completely out of control? What do you think drives someone to threaten elementary schools? If you're going after the architect, you're not going alone, Torres said, checking her sidearm. And we're taking Caldwell. Lisa, this isn't your fight. The hell it isn't. They threatened federal agents. They threatened children. Her voice was ice cold. That makes it everyone's fight. Darius looked at Caldwell, who seemed to have aged a decade in the past hour. Do you even know how to contact this architect? Morrison would know. But Morrison's in federal custody by now. Patricia wiped her eyes and stood up. I'm coming too. Absolutely not, both agents said simultaneously. This is my daughter's family they're threatening. And I helped create this mess by recording Robert's activities. She looked at the Buckley S. I need to make this right. Sarah Buckley stepped forward. We're not running. Ma'am, you need to. Agent Mitchell, my husband and I came to this country because we believed in American justice. If we run now, they win. If we hide, they win. She held Emma closer. I won't teach my daughter that people like us have to hide from people like them. David Buckley nodded. Plus, I'm a cybersecurity expert. If this architect is coordinating through digital networks, you might need technical support. Darius felt something shift inside him. The same feeling he'd had when he first decided to become an FBI agent. It wasn't just about law enforcement anymore. It was about what kind of country Emma Buckley would grow up in. All right, he said. But we do this by the book. No vigilante justice, no matter how tempting. Torres was coordinating with multiple agencies through her radio. Director Hayes, we need Morrison's location and a federal warrant for enhanced interrogation techniques. Negative on enhanced techniques, Torres. This stays constitutional. Sir, they're threatening elementary schools. Which is exactly why we don't abandon our principles. The moment we start acting like them, they've won. Caldwell suddenly looked up. I just remembered something. Morrison mentioned that the architect always used secure phones, but he communicated through a specific gaming platform. Gaming platform? Some military simulation game. Morrison said it was perfect cover because it looked like recreational activity. David Buckley's eyes lit up. I know military sim games. I could probably trace the network traffic if we can get access to Morrison's accounts. Torres was already on it. Direct to Hayes, we need Morrison's digital devices and a warrant for his gaming accounts. Already in process. But Mitchell, I'm serious about you stepping back. Your sister's school has been evacuated, by the way. The threat was credible. Darius felt his jaw tighten. Where is she? Safe location. But Darius, this is personal now. That's exactly when agents make mistakes. Patricia's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and went pale. It's my ex-husband. Robert, did you give the network information about my family too? She answered on speaker. Hello, Michael. Patricia, where the hell are you? There are men here with badges asking about you, and some neighbor of yours named Caldwell. They say you're involved in some kind of terrorist investigation. Everyone in the group froze. What men, Michael? What do their badges look like? They look official. FBI or something. They're asking about your political activities, your associations, whether you've been radicalized. Torres grabbed Patricia's phone. Sir, this is FBI Agent Torres. Can you describe these men in detail? Who is this? Patricia, what's going on? Sir, how many men are there? 3. They showed badges. They have federal authority. What did the badges say exactly? Department of Homeland Security. They said Patricia might be involved with domestic terrorists. Torres looked at Darius with alarm. Sir, those aren't our people. What do you mean they're not your people? The sleeper cells, Darius realized. They're impersonating federal agents now, using fake DHS credentials. Patricia started hyperventilating. Michael, get out of there right now. Those aren't real federal agents. What? That's crazy. They have official vehicles. The line went dead. Torres was already on her radio. All units, we have Heritage Network operatives impersonating DHS agents. They're conducting false investigations of agents' family members. Director Hayes came back through Darius's phone. This is escalating beyond domestic terrorism. They're now impersonating multiple federal agencies. I'm authorizing lethal force if necessary. Caldwell looked stricken. They're using our network against federal agents' families. This was never supposed to happen. What was supposed to happen, Robert? Patricia demanded through her tears. We were supposed to document illegal residents, report violations to proper authorities, maybe encourage voluntary relocation. By terrorizing children and threatening schools? That was never the plan. David Buckley, still holding Emma, looked directly at Caldwell. Mr. Caldwell, what you call illegal residents, what did you mean by that? People who don't have proper documentation. My family has proper documentation. We have a lease, we pay taxes. Our daughter is an American citizen. What made you think we were illegal? Caldwell's silence stretched too long. It was never about documentation, was it? Sarah Buckley said quietly. It was about the color of our skin. We thought. Caldwell struggled with words that wouldn't come. You thought what, Robert? Patricia pressed. We thought that people who looked like that families who weren't. He stopped, finally hearing his own words. Emma Buckley, who had been quietly listening to adult conversations she didn't fully understand, suddenly spoke up. Daddy, why don't they want us to live in our house? The question hit everyone like a physical blow. How do you explain racial hatred to a 4-year-old? David Buckley knelt down to his daughter's level. Some people are scared of things they don't understand, sweetheart. But the good news is, there are many more good people than scared people. Emma looked at Darius. Are you a good person? I try to be, Emma. Will you keep the scared people from hurting Daddy? The weight of that question, a 4-year-old asking if he could protect her father from racist terrorism in suburban America, crystallized everything for Darius. Yes, Emma. I promise I'll keep the scared people from hurting your daddy. Torres was monitoring multiple radio channels now. Darius, we've got situations developing in 6 states. The Heritage Network isn't just a local hate group. It's a nationwide terrorist organization. How many people are we talking about? Conservative estimate? 800 active members. Maybe more. Patricia collapsed into a lawn chair. 800 Robert Caldwells. Patricia, Caldwell said quietly, I need you to know something. When I started recording those videos of suspicious activity, when I bought that fake badge, I told myself I was protecting America. And now I realize I was destroying it. Darius's phone buzzed with another text from the architect. Agent Mitchell. Your sister is safe for now. But every hour you continue this investigation, another school gets added to our target list. We have sleepers in 47 school districts. Stand down, or America's children pay the price. Emma Buckley looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. Darius made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his career, or define him as the agent who saved American democracy. Torres, patch me through to Director Hayes. We're going to war. Director Hayes, Darius said into his phone. I'm formally requesting authorization for a direct action operation against the architect. Mitchell, we've got the National Guard mobilizing in 6 states. This is already the largest domestic terrorism response since Oklahoma City. You want to go rogue now? Sir, they just threatened 47 school districts. This isn't going rogue, this is going direct. Torres had her laptop out, coordinating with the Cybercrimes Division. Director, we've got Morrison's gaming accounts. David Buckley is right. They've been coordinating through a military simulation called American Patriot Defense. The architect has been running war games with Heritage Network cells for months. War games? Director Hayes' voice was grim. David Buckley looked up from Torres's laptop. Not games, sir. Training simulations. They've been rehearsing coordinated attacks on federal buildings, schools, and minority communities. This was always the plan. Emma Buckley tugged on her father's sleeve. Daddy, what's a war game? Sarah Buckley quickly distracted her daughter, while the adults processed the horrifying implications. Caldwell was staring at the ground. He said we were preparing for defensive scenarios. If the federal government ever turned against American citizens. Jesus Christ, Robert, Patricia whispered. They weren't preparing to defend America. They were preparing to attack it. Torres looked up from her computer, her face pale. Guys, I found something. The architect isn't just coordinating Heritage Network cells. He's been recruiting from active military personnel, retired law enforcement, and... She paused, current federal agents. What? Darius leaned over her shoulder. Look at this communications log. He's got contacts in the DEA, ATF, and even the FBI. Director Hayes' voice came through the phone. Torres, you're saying we have federal agents involved in domestic terrorism? Sir, I'm saying the architect has been recruiting from inside federal agencies. He knows our protocols, our response procedures, our agent rosters. Darius felt the pieces clicking together. That's how they got our home addresses. That's how they knew about my sister's school. And that's how they knew exactly which fake credentials would be most convincing, Torres added. Patricia was watching Emma Buckley color quietly on the ground, trying to stay calm while adults discussed terrorism around her. Robert, who recruited you, a man named Jenkins, said he was retired FBI, concerned about the direction of the country. Torres typed rapidly. Jenkins. Got it. Arthur Jenkins, retired FBI counterterrorism. Forced retirement after controversial statements about immigration. But here's the problem. Jenkins isn't the architect. How do you know? Because Jenkins has been posting on the network forums, while the architect was giving simultaneous orders. They're different people. David Buckley had taken over part of the laptop analysis. Agent Torres, look at this. The architect's communication patterns show advanced knowledge of federal cybersecurity protocols. This isn't just someone who worked for the government. This is someone who worked in federal intelligence. Darius's phone rang. Unknown number. Answer it, Torres said. We're tracing the call. Agent Mitchell. His voice was steady, professional. Hello, Agent Mitchell. This is the architect. The voice was calm, cultured, with just a hint of a southern accent. Everyone in the group went silent. I understand you've been asking questions about our organization. Your terrorist organization. Terrorist? The architect laughed. Agent Mitchell, I've dedicated my entire career to protecting America. 30 years in federal intelligence, fighting foreign terrorists, defending our nation's secrets, only to watch our own government import the very threats we spent decades fighting overseas. By threatening elementary schools? By preserving the America our founders envisioned. The America your own oath requires you to protect. Torres was frantically coordinating the call trace through hand signals with her cyber team. Who are you? Darius asked. Someone who understands that sometimes protecting the Constitution requires going beyond its current interpretation. The Constitution doesn't include terrorizing families. The Constitution doesn't include importing foreign populations to replace American citizens either. But here we are. David Buckley's face hardened at the casual dehumanization in the architect's voice. Mr. Buckley, I know you're listening. Nothing personal, you understand. I'm sure you're a fine engineer. But America was built by people who looked like Agent Mitchell and Mr. Caldwell, not like you. Emma Buckley looked up from her coloring, sensing the tension. Daddy, why does the mean man not like us? The innocence of the question, the pure confusion of a child who couldn't understand racial hatred, seemed to cut through everyone present. Because he's scared, sweetheart, Sarah Buckley answered, holding her daughter close. Just like Agent Mitchell explained. The architect's voice came through the phone. I'm not scared, Mrs. Buckley. I'm strategic. Fear would be letting demographic replacement continue until traditional Americans become a minority in their own country. Traditional Americans? Darius's voice was dangerous now. Americans who built this nation, who understand its values, who look like the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers who wrote that all men are created equal? The Founding Fathers who owned slaves and restricted citizenship to free white persons of good character. The naked racism in that statement left everyone speechless. Caldwell suddenly stood up. No, that's not what we signed up for. That's not what any of this was supposed to be about. Mr. Caldwell, you disappoint me. Your neighborhood security patrols were among our most effective early operations. Those weren't security patrols. We were terrorizing innocent families. You were preserving community standards. We were being racist assholes. Caldwell exploded. Look at this little girl. Look at this family. How is their existence a threat to anything? Patricia started crying again, but these were different tears. Tears of relief that her neighbor was finally seeing the truth. Torres held up a piece of paper. Got him. Signal triangulated to a location in Arlington. Agent Mitchell, the architect continued, you have 1 hour to call off all federal investigations into Heritage Network operations. In exchange, I'll call off the school threats. And if I don't, at exactly 3 p.m., simultaneous active shooter scenarios will commence at elementary schools in Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. The shooters are all Heritage Network operatives who've been preparing for martyrdom operations. The word martyrdom hung in the air like poison. You're talking about mass murder of children. I'm talking about the price of demographic warfare. Every child we lose today prevents 1,000 American children from becoming minorities in their own schools tomorrow. David Buckley covered Emma's ears, but she'd already heard enough to start crying. Sir, Director Hayes came through the phone, having heard the entire conversation. We're moving to the Arlington location now. But Mitchell, You need to know, simultaneous SWAT deployments to all 6 states are already underway. How long? Darius asked. 23 minutes to coordinate all locations. Darius looked at his watch. 2:41 p.m. 19 minutes to prevent the mass murder of elementary school children by domestic terrorists who believed they were saving America. Architect, you're making a mistake. The only mistake, Agent Mitchell, was allowing people like the Buckleys to believe they belonged in neighborhoods built by people like Mr. Caldwell. Emma Buckley looked up at Darius with tear-filled eyes. Mr. FBI man, are you going to keep your promise? The weight of a 4-year-old's trust, the lives of hundreds of schoolchildren, and the soul of American democracy balanced on the next 18 minutes. Torres, how fast can you get us to Arlington? Darius was already moving toward the SUV. 12 minutes if I ignore every traffic law in Virginia. Do it. As they rushed to the vehicle, Darius looked back at the Buckley family. David was holding Emma, while Sarah gathered their belongings with shaking hands. Mr. Buckley, take your family to the FBI field office. Ask for Agent Rodriguez. Tell her I sent you. Agent Mitchell, Sarah Buckley called out. Bring our daughter's coloring book. She wants you to have it. Emma nodded seriously and handed Darius a crayon drawing of stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. In a child's handwriting, it said, "Good people protecting scared people." The simple drawing hit harder than any mission briefing he'd ever received. Emma, I'm going to put this in my pocket and keep it safe, okay? Promise you'll come back and tell me about the scared people? I promise, sweetheart. As they sped toward Arlington, Torres coordinated with multiple tactical teams while Darius studied the intelligence reports flooding his phone. The picture emerging was worse than anyone had imagined. Director Hayes, Torres said through her headset, we've identified the 6 schools. 3 in Virginia, 1 each in Maryland, North Carolina, and Tennessee. All have Heritage Network operatives in position. Tactical teams? 14 minutes out on the farthest location, 8 minutes on the closest. Patricia was in the back seat with Caldwell, both of them staring at their phones as news reports began breaking. Robert, look at this. They're calling it the largest domestic terrorism event since 9/11. Because it is, Darius said grimly. 800 coordinated operatives with military training and federal inside information. Caldwell's voice was hollow. I helped train some of them. Those weekend security workshops Morrison ran. We were teaching tactical formations, surveillance techniques, weapons handling. You were training terrorists, Torres said without looking back. We thought we were training patriots. Darius's phone rang again. The architect. Agent Mitchell, I see you're heading toward our Arlington facility. Your facility? Did you think we were operating out of someone's basement? Heritage Network has been acquiring properties for months. Safe houses, training facilities, weapons storage. Torres grabbed her radio. All units, suspect location may be fortified. Approach with extreme caution. The architect continued. 16 minutes now, Agent Mitchell. Are you prepared to watch American children die for the sake of protecting foreign families? Those are American children too, you psychotic. Mrs. Buckley's daughter is American by birth accident, not by blood or culture. The children who will die today are American by heritage, by right, by destiny. David Buckley, monitoring the call through Torres's radio from the FBI field office, responded over the channel. My daughter was born in Virginia General Hospital. She says the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. She loves mac and cheese and Disney movies. What makes her less American than anyone? Mr. Buckley, your daughter may have been born here, but her loyalty will always be divided. When America faces China in the coming conflict, whose side will she choose? She's 4 years old, and in 14 years she'll be voting. In 25 years, she might be running for office. The children who die today die to prevent America from being ruled by people who look like your family. Architect, Darius said, You're not just talking about school shootings. What's the real target? Smart question, Agent Mitchell. The schools are psychological warfare, designed to create maximum trauma and fear. But the real operation begins when federal agents storm our facilities to stop us. Torres looked at Darius with growing alarm. Every Heritage Network facility is wired with enough explosives to level a city block. When your tactical teams breach our doors, you'll detonate and kill federal agents. I'll create martyrs, dead federal agents, dead Heritage Network patriots, and terrified American communities begging for someone to restore order. Order meaning what? Martial law, emergency powers, suspension of immigration, mandatory deportations. The architect's voice was calm, almost conversational. Crisis creates opportunity, Agent Mitchell. Today's tragedy becomes tomorrow's salvation. Patricia was crying again. Robert, this is what you signed up for. Mass murder to create a dictatorship. No, Caldwell protested. This wasn't the plan. Morrison said we were documenting violations, creating evidence for legal deportations. Morrison was a useful idiot, just like you, Mr. Caldwell. The Heritage Network exists on multiple levels. Most operatives like you genuinely believed you were following legal procedures. And the others? The others understood that saving America requires methods the Constitution doesn't explicitly authorize. Torres's radio erupted. All units, we have armed suspects moving toward target schools. Lockdown protocols initiated at all 6 locations. How long? Darius asked. 12 minutes to simultaneous breach. They were 8 minutes from the Arlington facility. Director Hayes, Torres called. We need to know about those explosives. Bomb squad ETA is 20 minutes. Too long. Darius made a command decision. Sir, I'm going in alone. Absolutely not. Director, if they detonate when tactical teams breach, we lose agents and the architect. If I go in solo, maybe I can talk him down. Or maybe you die, and the schools get hit anyway. Sir, with respect, this psychopath is about to murder elementary school children to start a race war. I'm not letting that happen on my watch. Patricia leaned forward. Agent Mitchell, take me with you. Ma'am, I helped create this monster by enabling Robert's activities. Let me help stop it. Patricia, no, Caldwell said. This is too dangerous. Robert, I've spent 6 months listening to you complain about neighbors who never did anything wrong. I owe the Buckley family more than an apology. Through the radio, they could hear David Buckley speaking to his daughter at the FBI field office. Emma, remember what Agent Mitchell promised? That there are more good people than scared people. Yes, Daddy. He's proving that right now. The good people are going to stop the scared people. Will the scared people stop being scared? The question, so innocent, so hopeful, cut through every adult listening. I hope so, sweetheart. I hope Agent Mitchell can help them stop being scared. Darius looked at Emma's drawing in his hand, then at Patricia's determined face, then at Caldwell's broken expression. Torres, when we get to Arlington, you coordinate with tactical. Patricia, you're with me. Caldwell, I'm coming too. Robert, Agent Mitchell, I helped train these people. I know their procedures, their signals, their weaknesses. His voice was steady for the first time all day. I helped create this nightmare. Let me help end it. Torres was approaching the Arlington address, a nondescript office building that looked like any other suburban business complex. 10 minutes to school operations, she announced. Time to save America, Darius said, checking his weapon and thinking of a 4-year-old's crayon drawing of good people protecting scared people. As they approached the building, Darius's phone rang one final time. Agent Mitchell, you're too late. The martyrdom operations have begun. Through his earpiece, Darius could hear the first reports. Shots fired at Riverside Elementary. Suspect is down, but, Jesus Christ, there are kids. Shots fired at Riverside Elementary, echoed in Darius's earpiece as he, Patricia, and Caldwell approached the Heritage Network facility. But then came words that changed everything. Suspect neutralized by school security. No children harmed. Repeat, no children harmed. Torres's voice crackled through the radio. All stations, suspect at Jefferson Elementary also down. Armed citizen intervened. No casualties. Then another report. North Carolina location. Suspect surrendered when confronted by parents and teachers. Says he can't go through with it. Darius felt a spark of hope. Architect. Sounds like your martyrdom operation is falling apart. The architect's voice was cold. Irrelevant. The explosives in our facilities will still create the crisis we need. Or, Darius said, looking at Caldwell, your own people might choose a different path. Inside the Heritage Network facility, they found something unexpected. Instead of a fortified bunker, it was a sophisticated media center with cameras, editing equipment, and communication arrays. The architect wasn't just coordinating terrorism. He was planning to broadcast it. Mr. Morrison? Caldwell called out, recognizing his regional coordinator tied to a chair, bruised and bleeding. Robert? Morrison looked up with relief. Thank God. This guy's completely insane. This wasn't supposed to be about killing kids. The architect emerged from behind the camera equipment, a silver-haired man in his 60s wearing a crisp suit. Agent Darius Mitchell. You're exactly as described in your personnel file. And you're under arrest for domestic terrorism. Am I? Look around, Agent Mitchell. 6 cameras, live streaming to 47 Heritage Network cells across the nation. Every word we speak is being broadcast to 800 patriots who are deciding right now whether to follow through with secondary operations. Darius noticed the red lights on the cameras. They were indeed live. Secondary operations? Federal buildings, Agent Mitchell. Courthouses, FBI field offices, immigration centers. If I give the word, Heritage Network operatives will prove that the federal government can't protect its own facilities. Patricia stepped forward, directly into camera view. This is Patricia Hendricks. I live in Willowbrook Estate, and I helped start this nightmare. Patricia, don't, the architect warned. Robert Caldwell is my neighbor. He's a good man who got scared and made terrible choices. I watched him terrorize the Buckley family, a beautiful family with a 4-year-old daughter who just wants to color pictures and live in peace. Patricia's voice grew stronger as she looked directly into the cameras. I'm talking to Heritage Network members watching this right now. Look at what we've become. We started by saying we wanted to protect our communities, and now we're threatening to murder children. Patricia, shut up, the architect snapped, reaching for a detonator. No. Caldwell stepped between them. She's right. This isn't protection. This is terrorism. Robert, the architect said, you were there when the Buckley family moved in. You saw how the neighborhood changed. Changed how? Caldwell's voice was steady now. Their lawn is immaculate. They wave to neighbors. Their daughter plays hopscotch on the sidewalk. What exactly changed except that good people happen to look different than me? Patricia nodded toward the cameras. Heritage Network members, I want you to think about the children in your own neighborhoods. All the children. Are they safer because we spent months planning to hurt families like the Buckleys? Or are they in more danger because we taught them to hate people who look different? Morrison, still tied to his chair, spoke up. They told me we were documenting violations. Legal violations. Immigration status, housing fraud, that kind of thing. They never said anything about explosives or shooting schools. Because most of you weren't ready for the truth, the architect said. Democracy has failed. Immigration has failed. Integration has failed. Only decisive action can save traditional America. Darius's earpiece crackled. Agent Mitchell, we've got Heritage Network operatives standing down at federal buildings in 4 states. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Then Torres's voice. Darius, something's happening. We're getting calls from Heritage Network members asking how to turn themselves in. The architect's face darkened. Cowards. All of them. No, Caldwell said, looking directly into the cameras. They're parents. They're neighbors. They're people who got scared and lost their way, just like I did. Patricia joined him in facing the cameras. My daughter called me today, terrified, because fake federal agents were questioning her husband about his immigration status. He's a software engineer with security clearance. He's more vetted by the government than most of us. But they targeted him because his name is Buckley. Because he's not white, Darius added bluntly. Yes, Patricia said, tears streaming down her face. Because he's not white. And I helped make that possible by supporting Robert's surveillance activities. Caldwell looked directly into the main camera. Heritage Network members, my name is Robert Caldwell. I bought a fake FBI badge to intimidate my neighbors. I conducted surveillance on families who never did anything wrong. I helped train people for what I thought were security operations. His voice broke slightly. Today I met a 4-year-old girl named Emma Buckley. She asked me why people don't want her family to live in their house. I couldn't answer that question because there is no good answer. Morrison nodded from his chair. They told us we were protecting property values. But terrorizing children doesn't protect anything. The architect raised the detonator. Enough sentiment. This building will explode in 60 seconds whether you leave or not. Then we don't leave, Darius said simply. You're willing to die for foreign families? I'm willing to die for American families. All of them. Patricia and Caldwell flanked him. So are we. The architect stared at them, then at the cameras broadcasting their defiance to hundreds of Heritage Network members across the country. You're going to let 800 patriots see you die for multiculturalism? We're going to let 800 Americans see us choose love over fear, Patricia said. Torres's voice came through the earpiece. Darius, we're getting mass surrenders. Heritage Network cells in 6 states are laying down weapons and calling local FBI offices. Why? The architect demanded. Morrison answered. Because they signed up to protect their families, not to murder other people's children. Caldwell stepped closer to the architect. Sir, I don't know your real name, but I know you convinced good people to do terrible things by telling them it was patriotic. You used our fear to turn us into the very thing we thought we were fighting against. And now, the architect's hand wavered on the detonator. Now we choose to stop being afraid. Through the radio, they heard Torres coordinating. All Heritage Network facilities secured without violence. No federal agents harmed. No explosives detonated. How is that possible? The architect stared at the cameras. Darius smiled. Because Patricia and Robert just convinced 800 scared Americans that there's a better way to protect their communities than terrorism. The architect looked around the room, at his sophisticated propaganda setup, at Morrison tied to a chair, at 3 people willing to die rather than let him broadcast hatred across America. And something broke inside him. He set down the detonator. My name is Arthur Harrison, former Deputy Director of Federal Counterterrorism. 32 years protecting America from foreign terrorists. His voice was hollow. And today I became everything I spent my career fighting against. 20 minutes later, as federal agents processed the scene, Darius found himself back at the Buckley family's house. Emma ran to him immediately. Mr. FBI man, did you keep your promise? Yes, Emma. The scared people aren't going to hurt anyone anymore. Are they still scared? Darius looked at Patricia and Caldwell, who were sitting on the Buckley's front porch having quiet conversations with David and Sarah. Some of them are still scared, sweetheart. But they're learning that being scared doesn't mean you have to hurt people. Emma held up a new crayon drawing. This one showed stick figures of different colors, all holding hands around a house with a big rainbow overhead. I drew this for Mr. Caldwell. Daddy says he was scared, but now he's trying to be good. Sarah Buckley brought out glasses of lemonade for everyone. Agent Mitchell, Robert and Patricia have offered to help us repaint our fence. Apparently, some Heritage Network members vandalized it last week. You don't have to, Darius started. We want to, Caldwell said firmly. It's a small start, but David Buckley nodded. Small starts become big changes. 3 months later, Darius was jogging his usual route through Willowbrook Estate when he passed the Buckley house. Emma was in the front yard, teaching a group of neighborhood children, including some whose parents had been Heritage Network members, how to draw rainbows with sidewalk chalk. Patricia and Sarah Buckley were planning a block party, while Robert Caldwell helped David Buckley install a new playground in the community park. The Heritage Preservation Network had disbanded, with most members entering a federal rehabilitation program focused on community service rather than prison time. Arthur Harrison received life in prison, but his media facility had been converted into a community center. Darius slowed his jog as Emma waved to him. Mr. FBI man. Look, she pointed to the sidewalk, where rainbow chalk drawings connected every house on the street. It's beautiful, Emma. Mrs. Patricia taught us that rainbows come after storms. As Darius continued his jog, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Genuine hope for America's future. Not because the hatred had disappeared, but because people like Patricia and Robert had chosen love over fear, redemption over revenge, healing over hatred. And sometimes, that's how democracy survives. One conversation, one choice, one 4-year-old's rainbow drawing at a time. Emma's original drawing, Good People Protecting Scared People, still hung framed in Darius's office, a daily reminder that America's greatest strength had always been its capacity for ordinary people to choose extraordinary courage when it mattered most.